Welcome to Agent Office Hours. My name is Payton and I'm the senior agent here at Briizy Talent Agency. So we are primarily a dance agency, but we do also work in commercial, musical theater, creative direction, and specialty. So without further ado, let's get into today's topic, materials. Now this is something I'm going to talk about a lot throughout the video, but one thing that I really want to stress is understanding why we have each material and what it should be used for. Just as a very quick overview, your social media should show us the real you and your training. Your reel should show us the most polished version of yourself and how you look on camera. Headshots are also a very polished version of yourself, but it also allows casting directors to see the various characters that you could possibly play. And then your resume should focus on what it is that you have actually done in your career and the things that you're especially proud of. In my opinion, people tend to blur the lines, especially between reel and resume. I feel like people often want to put like every single booking that they've done into their reel, but the problem is that sometimes it's not a lot of dance, it's a lot more modeling stuff. Or maybe you're way in the back of a music video, nobody can really see you. Or maybe you just have way too much production value and we can't see any of your training. Anyways, we will get into that a lot more throughout the video, but I'm going to start off today with social media. Social media is something that has kind of taken over as, I would say, the primary submission material lately. Obviously, yes, I still need a headshot, resume, and reel from all of my clients, but I will say that choreographers and casting directors love social media for a variety of reasons. First and foremost, it kind of gives them a peek behind the curtain. Your headshot and reel, like I said, they're so polished and only shows your best self. But when it comes to social media, we can see what you actually look like. We have photos of you just hanging out with your friends. There's videos of you training in class. We also have full video options instead of just clips in your reel. So with that being said, there are a few things that we can do to optimize our social media. Number one, make sure that you're utilizing your pins. You definitely want to pin your headshot. You also want to pin either a reel or a really good dance video of yourself. And then for the third pin, you really have to be selective based on your own experience and your goals. Now, if you're a specialty artist and you do fire or aerial or hoop or something really cool, that third pin should showcase that. Or maybe you're a model or an actor, you should also try to showcase that. Or sometimes people do like really cool bookings or a cool collab that they're especially proud of. So that's another really interesting one that you could add. Now, second are your story highlights. For dancers specifically, I would say to highlight every single style of dance that you do. You know what, sometimes reels can be very commercial, but maybe you're also trained in classical styles as well. So it's nice for a choreographer to be able to go to your page and immediately have access to all of your ballet videos, all of your contemporary videos, all of your hip hop videos, all of your jazz videos, so on and so forth. And then lastly is your bio. The bio is another one that you really have to curate to fit your specific goals. Again, maybe you're not just a dancer, you're also a model and a singer and an actor. We should definitely be making that known in the bio. Or if you're under 18, I would definitely suggest you add your age as well. And then add your home base. A lot of times they want to hire somebody who can be a Los Angeles local or a New York local or Atlanta, any other big city. And lastly is union status. This one is not necessarily required, but sometimes it is helpful if you are SAG or equity, you can add that as well. Again, very low priority though. All right, now moving on to the reel. One question that we receive quite a bit is why you need a reel, a self-tape, and an active social media. The thing is that all three of these serve very different purposes. An active social media is more geared towards showing a casting director who you are as a person and what your training actually consists of. A self-tape, on the other hand, is geared towards a specific project. Maybe they're looking for somebody very athletic. Maybe they're looking for somebody with a strong sense of personal style. Whatever the brief is, they're trying to see if you can hit that mark. Now, a reel, on the other hand, as I've mentioned, is the most polished version of yourself. We're showing you at your absolute best. So this is showcasing not just how you execute choreography, but also how you look on camera. Now, when it comes to reels, I personally have 5 golden rules. Number 1 is your clip length. Each clip should be no more than 7 to 8 seconds. Number 2 is the total length. We want to keep it around 90 seconds. Try not to exceed 2 minutes or go under 1 minute though. Number 3 is content. Yes, please show your versatility, but also don't sacrifice good videos just to showcase your versatility. Again, just because you have ballet training doesn't mean that we should sacrifice this amazing hip hop or jazz number just to put in an average ballet video. Number 4, your production value. So casting directors do want to see that you've been on set before. Being put on camera, understanding blocking, understanding the lingo that people use on set. Honestly, just an overall understanding of what it means to be on set and what is required of you is really important. So ideally, if you can, we want to add in a nice variety of class training videos as well as production value. But the same thing applies here. Maybe you were in a music video with a big artist, but the viewer can barely see you or your skill set. Try not to add that in. At the end of the day, it's a trade-off, but I would much rather see a clip from, a student film where you are front and center and clearly visible over a clip from an A-list artist where nobody can really see you. All right, now moving on to headshots. When it comes to headshots, I think a common misconception is that they're just used to show how pretty or handsome you are. And honestly, that's just not the case at all. Think of headshots more so as a way for casting directors to see the types of characters that you can portray. Now, I always ask my dancers for at least one sexier headshot. Typically, that looks like an all-black outfit showing quite a bit of skin, obviously full glam. In my opinion, it's just a really necessary shot because a lot of the auditions that we tend to get are for heels dancers for various artists. But with that being said, I also really need a more youthful look. Something like a purple backdrop, a bright yellow t-shirt, very, very light makeup. Now, why do I need such polarizing looks? Because this time last year, we had auditions for Keke Palmer and Kids' Choice Awards all in the same week. Let's be real, you cannot use the same headshot for both of those auditions. They just give extremely different vibes, and if you expect to book either or both of those roles, The choreographer needs to be able to see you in that role. The same can be said for like jock versus nerd. If all of your photos are super high glam, how is the casting director supposed to envision you as a nerd? So anyways, when it comes to headshots, really sitting down and thinking about not only the roles that you want to play, but also the roles that you tend to get a lot of callbacks or bookings on. That's really what we want to prioritize. Just to give an example of this, I do have a client who really enjoys playing college age. However, almost all of her callbacks during her first 3 months with me were for young mom and early 30s roles. So for me personally, I think it would be smarter and more cost effective if you have headshots that showcase you as a young mom or somebody in her early 30s, rather than to continue to try and prioritize a college age vibe. All right, and last but not least is the resume. Now, once again, I want to point out the distinction that this is where you can add anything, including what you may not have been able to add in your reel. Now, when it comes to resume, everybody's experience is going to be so incredibly different. So honestly, try not to take this as a one size fits all. Really tailor this as much as you can to your own experience and your goals. Now, again, because I work with dancers most often, there's two things that I personally feel like we should try to figure out first. Number one, do we want to have an all-inclusive resume, or do we want a dancer resume, a choreography resume, an acting resume? And then question number two, if we do want to leave it all inclusive, what is our priority? If it's dance, is the priority music videos or commercial or live shows or artist work? What are we prioritizing here? If choreography is the priority, what are we wanting to work with? Artists, brands? Do we just want to teach at local studios, maybe conventions? Now, once you've answered these two questions, then we can actually move on to the formatting. Of course, at the top, we always want to start with our name. Then we can add our contact information and your Instagram handle. A lot of in-person auditions have been asking my clients to include their Instagram on their resume. So at this point in the industry, I just think it's smarter to already have it prepared so that you're not scrambling the day of the audition. Also, if you're part of a union, you need to add that as well. And then just a glimpse into your demographics. So things like height, eye color, hair color. Now, I always prefer to see experience at the top, and then we can leave training and special skills for the very bottom. But the one thing that I want to say is if you don't have a lot of experience to work with, sometimes your training does speak more. So in that case, you could put all of your college dance experience, the training programs you've done, anything like that at the very top. But again, I always think if you have actual experience, that should go up top. So anyways, this is where we're looking at our goals. If we want to do a lot more commercials, and that's kind of our strongest area of experience, we should definitely be listing commercials first, or vice versa. If music videos are your bread and butter, start with that. And then from there, you're slowly going to work your way down to get through all of the experience that you've had. That could be live stage, that could be TV film, it could be teaching credits that you have, anything like that. And then when it comes to training, again, you just kind of have to use your best judgment. But what I will say is if your experience is already pretty extensive, let's say you've already worked with a bunch of A-list artists in a variety of settings, from like music video to live stage, I personally don't think training is very important. So I would rather see you use that space to talk about the actual productions that you've been a part of than to try and squeeze in every single training that you've had. It's already very clear that you've received that training if you're booking these big projects. Now, if it's something prestigious like a dance college, okay, fine. But otherwise, honestly, I wouldn't waste the space. Okay, now if you're on the opposite spectrum and you don't have a ton of experience to work with, you're going to have to rely on your training. But what I will say is make sure it's quality training. If you don't have a ton of experience, as an agent, I at least want to see that you know how to train smart. This isn't sponsored, so I'm pretty sure I can talk about some actual programs. But if I see that you've done Tia Rivera's BTV program, or you went to CLI, or maybe you're creative director who did Tiana Gandelman's Creative Director Pro Academy, that means so much more to me than if you add classes that you've taken at your local dance studio in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Now, don't cancel me. I know that's a terrible thing to say, and I do not mean to offend any of the amazing dance studios in nowhere, Texas. And I also understand that not everybody has access to choreographers and training programs in Los Angeles or New York or any other major city. But what I want to emphasize is if you expect an agent to not only take a chance on you, but also to submit you to some really high profile jobs, you need to show us that you're serious about your career and that you know how to train smarter and not just where you're comfortable. Okay, lastly is special skills. I really shouldn't have to say this, but apparently I do. Do not add a special skill to your resume if you can't actually perform it. Now, I have had people that include Spanish as a special skill, and I will literally sign them almost entirely because of that. But then they get a self-tape request, and that's when they decide to tell me that they don't feel comfortable doing an entire spot in Spanish. Or same thing with roller skating, or I guess roller dancing, I should say. A lot of people added that to their resume after Usher's halftime show, and I would submit a ton of my dancers to roller skating projects, but then they would get a self-tape request, and all of a sudden their skill isn't actually where they claimed it to be. Honestly, the same can be said about literally any skill: horseback riding, sports, dialects, instruments. So if you're going to add a special skill to your resume, you better be able to back that up. But with that being said, as I mentioned, I literally have signed people based on a special skill alone sometimes. For years, Spanish speakers have been probably my most successful clients in commercial. So, maybe you're not the strongest dancer, but if you are legitimately bilingual, that moves you to the top of my list. Or like I said, we were getting a lot of roller dancing auditions back in the day. So seeing somebody with that skill on their resume really caught my eye. I feel like right now, current day, Pilates and yoga are really having their moment. So anyways, my point is you never know what's going to intrigue either an agent like myself or a casting director. So any skill that you have and you actually feel confident performing it, make sure to add it. Okay, wow, we have covered a whole lot of ground today. I really hope this was helpful, but if it brought up any new questions for you, please leave them in the comments and I would be happy to make another video going more in depth. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.